Hello everybody, welcome to the Book Coven YouTube. I am Lillian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Melissa Albert's Tales of the Hinterland series. There's 3 books. The first one is The Hazelwood, second is The Night Country, and Tales of the Hinterland is a short story anthology based on the book that's in this book. It's a book within a book within a book. This series I wasn't expecting much from it, but it was a pleasant surprise. It follows the main character, Alice, who feels like she doesn't know what her life is. She feels like she's been in the dark most of her life, and it's just her trying to understand who she is, where she comes from, what kind of life she wants to have. Because unbeknownst to her, her whole life has been designed for her. She's been created to fit into a story that she has no control over. And she's been made to fit this mold that she didn't have any say in. So it's like her trying to break out of that and be her own person, which I think most people can relate to at least a little bit. And it is a wild tale. It's set in like another realm, a fairy tale realm where there's a character called the Spinner who has created this world and these stories inside the world that play out like loops, where each character in the story, they're designed to follow their story, and when they finish it, they start again. And all the stories are really messed up. It's not like Disney stories, it's like grim fairy tale stories. They're very violent, they're very dark. It's all murder and assault and sexual assault, and it's so weird and creepy, and I love it so much. So the first story is it's the weakest of the 3, but don't let that dissuade you from reading it. It's still good. It just sets up the world and the characters, and Alice figures out that she is not an ordinary girl. She's a fairy tale character who is stolen from her realm and put into ours. So she has to go back to save her mom and figure out her shit. I won't give you any spoilers, but it's the reason I didn't like this book as much as the others is because it's too set in the fairy tale world, so it's a little too silly. Because the Hinterland is, I can't even explain it. There are the story characters, but there are also random people who got stuck in that realm, who now live in that realm, who are just try to avoid the story characters. So it's just this weird, nonsensical place, and it was a little too far-fetched to read for most of the book. I like the second one, The Night Country, more because it is set fully in our world, except for a few flashbacks and side stories still set in the Hinterland. And it explains that the Hinterland was created by the Spinner, who discovered a magic who you can create your own world, you can control everything and make everything in the world, but it destroys the world that you started in. So when Alice leaves the Hinterland, she starts breaking the cycle of all the stories, so the Hinterland falls and fades, and the Spinner is trying to destroy our world to make a new world for her. So this one is much darker, and in the midst of all this, there's a murder mystery that she has to deal with. She fully knows who she is now. She knows she's a storybook character, and she knows that her whole story, she lives in a cycle of turning into an ice monster and murdering people. So she has this rage inside of her that she's struggling to control. She doesn't know if she wants to control it or if she should just embrace it because, people suck and it's easier to just dive into your rage and vengeance instead of moving past that. So she's a really kind of flawed, messed up character, but I love her so much. And she just makes a whole new world for herself that's just her own. She finds a balance between herself and her powers and living a regular life with a regular job, you know. She still gets to be a teenage girl, even though she has lived a life, like, over and over and over. She's aged and died, like, countless times. But she still, like, comes out of it. And she rebuilds herself fully. And it is dope. And there is a little bit of romance, like every YA book, but it's not too focused on that. It's just, like, in and out little hints of it. So it's not too lame. There's no love triangles, which I deeply appreciate it. And after you read The Hazelwood and the Night Country, which I hope there's going to be a third one, I don't know yet, but this story, The Night Country, does end in a way where a third could happen. But after that, Tales from the Hinterland came out this year, and it is just, it's the book that is talked about in The Hazelwood. So it's the collection of stories that are what the Hinterland is. So you get to read all the characters in the Hinterland, all their messed up stories that you heard about in the Hazelwood, but you didn't get into. And it starts a little lame. The stories aren't that disturbing, but as you go on, it is so weird. There is so much murder, child murder, rape. Like, it's wild. It's a wild time. The artwork in the book is beautiful. Each story has its own little cover page. Let me find one. Here's one. It's like the Grimm fairy tales, basically. And you get to read Alice's full story, because in the book you get part of it, but it's never mentioned, like, how her story ends. That was always kept from her, so you finally get to read, like, her full story. And each story isn't too long, so, you know, it's not some insane tome that you have to fucking spend weeks to get through. They're like 20 pages each. And it just gets darker and darker, but in a subtle way that you're not expecting. And the whole series was great. It inspired me to make the Alice 3 Times spell bottle based off our main character. It's about mental fortitude, believing in yourself, finding courage in yourself to be who you want to be. And I made a drink inspired by, like, the magical fairy tale realm. It's a gin martini, but, like, with fancy colors and some fancy splash to it. So, yeah, I highly recommend this series. It's very whimsical, very violent, classic dark fairy tale. Check it out.